Have you been feeling physical sensations you cannot explain? Sudden aches, exhaustion, pressure or heat moving through your body. Moments where it feels as if something inside you is breaking down even as your awareness expands. You may have tried to rationalize it as stress imbalance or emotional overload, yet deep within you know this is different. This is not random, and it is not weakness. For the divine feminine, approaching sacred union intuition no longer whispers. The body speaks clearly, and when it speaks this loudly, it is because something irreversible is unfolding. In this video, we go beyond symbolism and surface-level spirituality. We explore the embodied reality of the twin flame journey. You will understand why union cannot take physical form until the divine feminine undergoes a full alchemical rebirth. Why this transformation is not gentle, symbolic, or optional. And why the physical body must be restructured to hold unconditional love. We will break down the 11 sacred aches that arise during this phase. Not as symptoms to fear, but as initiation signals encoded into the body. You will learn how powerful light codes move through the nervous system, bones, and blood, preparing the vessel for union. By the end of this video, fear will turn into clarity. Confusion will turn into recognition. You will stop doubting what your body is doing and begin trusting its intelligence. Pain will no longer feel like punishment, but preparation. If your body has been demanding your attention, if you feel you are standing at a threshold you cannot turn back from, then this message is for you. Stay until the end, because understanding what your body is becoming changes everything. Section 1. The body as the final frontier of ascension. Spiritual growth often begins in places that are quiet and unseen. It unfolds in moments of stillness, in meditation, in prayer, in energetic healing, and in the subtle inner shifts that occur far beyond the eyes of the world. Many souls reach profound levels of awareness within these realms. They awaken intuitively. They remember who they are spiritually. Yet for ascension to be complete, consciousness cannot remain suspended only in the mind or the energetic field. The physical body is the final gate. It is the last frontier where heaven must anchor itself into matter. If the physical vessel remains dense, overwhelmed by unresolved trauma, fear stored in the nervous system, or ancestral residue carried through the bloodline, it cannot sustain higher frequencies for long. The soul may know the truth, but the body must be able to live it. Ascension is not an escape from the body, it is a reclamation of it. The body must become safe, coherent, and strong enough to hold expanded consciousness without collapsing under its weight. This is why union is not merely a romantic or emotional experience. True union is the embodiment of cosmic consciousness in physical form. It is the meeting point between spirit and matter, between divine intelligence and human flesh. Love at this level is not fleeting or symbolic. It is a permanent frequency that must be lived, breathed, and sustained day after day. For that to occur, the body itself must be capable of holding that vibration without reverting to old survival patterns. Much like a high-performance system receiving a completely new operating structure, the body undergoes a necessary period of shutdown and destabilization. Old circuits fail, familiar sensations disappear. New signals emerge that feel unfamiliar, intense, and sometimes frightening. This is not malfunction, this is rewiring. The nervous system learns a new language. The muscles release memories they have held for years. The cells begin responding to coherence instead of fear. Every ache is not random, it is a reconnection. Every wave of exhaustion is not weakness, it is recalibration. Every tear is not regression, it is purification. The body releases what it could not process before because it finally has the capacity to do so now. What once remained trapped in silence is allowed to move, surface, and dissolve. Your body is not breaking. It is remembering how to exist without armor. It is remembering safety. It is remembering love without threat. It is remembering how to be a living vessel for something vast, intelligent, and enduring. Ascension does not bypass the body. It completes itself through it. And when the body finally aligns, heaven no longer feels distant. It becomes embodied, grounded, and real. Before we move deeper into the next layer of this journey, Pause for a moment and gently check in with your own body. Notice what is stirring as you listen. Notice where you feel tension, warmth, emotion, or recognition. These teachings are not meant to stay in the mind. They are meant to be felt, integrated, and lived. If something in this message resonated with you, let it be acknowledged. Take a breath and allow yourself to honor where you are in this process. If you feel called, support this work by liking the video so this message can reach others who need it. Share your thoughts in the comments, or simply type, "My body remembers the truth," to affirm your readiness to move forward. And as we transition now, stay open, because what comes next reveals how this transformation begins to reorganize your inner world in powerful and unexpected ways. Section 2. Ache 1. Solar plexus fire and weight recalibration. The first ache announces itself through the body in a way that feels undeniable and, for many, deeply confronting. It arrives as a dramatic shift in physical density, often expressed through rapid weight gain or sudden weight loss, concentrated around the solar plexus and the hips. This change can feel shocking, confusing, and emotionally charged, especially when it seems to defy logic, routine, or effort. This is not a matter of diet, discipline, or physical imbalance. What is unfolding here is an energetic battlefield. The solar plexus is the seat of personal power, identity, will, and self-definition. When this center ignites, the body responds instinctively, adjusting its form to accommodate an intense inner recalibration that the conscious mind cannot yet comprehend. In periods of weight gain, the body is not failing you, it is protecting you. This added density often functions as a temporary buffer, a soft but powerful shield that allows the divine feminine to process inherited fear, karmic residue, and layers of collective trauma that have been stored silently within the nervous system for generations. The body steps in as a guardian, saying, "I will hold you while you face what has been buried. I will keep you grounded while you move through the darkness." What appears outwardly as heaviness is, energetically, an act of profound compassion and self-preservation. Weight loss, on the other hand, reflects an entirely different movement of energy. It is the aggressive shedding of lower-density memory encoded in the cells. Old ancestral chains begin to loosen. Identities formed through survival, conditioning, and pain start to dissolve. The body releases what it no longer needs to carry, sometimes at a pace that feels startling or uncontrollable. This is not depletion, it is liberation. The body is emptying itself of stories that no longer belong to who you are becoming. Both expressions force a surrender that the ego often resists. Control slips away. Familiar standards of beauty, worth, and self-image begin to collapse. The mind may panic, searching for explanations, solutions, or ways to reverse the process. But this ache is not meant to be fixed. It is meant to be honored. It dismantles ego-based attachment to appearance and reorients devotion away from form and toward truth. At its core, this recalibration is highly precise. Your body is tuning itself to the exact frequency required to lock into your twin flame's energetic signature. Every fluctuation serves a purpose. Every tear shed during this phase releases attachment to external validation and awakens a deeper allegiance to energetic integrity. This ache teaches you that the body is not betraying you. It is remembering who you are and reshaping itself to carry a love that cannot exist in a vessel built on fear, control, or illusion. Section 3. Ache 2. Womb and sacral purification. The second ache emerges from one of the most sacred and misunderstood portals within the body, the womb and the sacral center. This is the creative core, the place where life force, desire, emotion, and creation itself are generated. When this ache awakens, it does not whisper. It announces itself through deep pelvic pressure, rhythmic pulsations, and, at times, sharp or lingering pain that feels ancient in origin and impossible to ignore. What is being cleared here goes far beyond the personal story. The body begins to release stored sexual trauma, emotional compromise, and generations of suppressed feminine power that were never given language or safety. This ache carries collective memory. It belongs not only to you, but to the women who came before you, those who learned to silence their bodies, dim their desires, or disconnect from their creative truth in order to survive. As this purification unfolds, menstrual cycles often shift dramatically. They may intensify, become irregular, shorten, lengthen, or reset entirely. This is not dysfunction, it is realignment. The body is no longer syncing itself to external stress, social expectation, or chronic pressure. Instead, it begins to align with cosmic rhythm, lunar intelligence, and the deeper biological wisdom that predates modern life. The womb remembers how to listen to the universe rather than the calendar. This ache signals preparation for the ultimate creative act, union. Not merely the creation of life in a physical sense, but the embodiment of sacred creation itself. The womb becomes a living altar, clearing itself so that what is born next is not shaped by fear, sacrifice, or inherited pain, but by truth, sovereignty, and conscious love. The tears that surface during this phase are rarely about the present moment alone. They rise from generations of grief women who were silenced, touched without consent, valued only for service, or denied ownership of their own bodies. Power that was never allowed to be embodied finally demands release. The nervous system softens as the body realizes it no longer has to carry these stories in silence. This ache is not gentle because reclamation is not passive. It is a return of authority to the body, a declaration that creative energy is no longer available for misuse, self-abandonment, or compromise. This is sovereignty restored at the cellular level, a non-negotiable cleansing that must occur before true creative union, energetic, emotional, and spiritual, can exist. The womb is not breaking. It is reclaiming its rightful place as a source of life, truth, and sacred power. Section 4, Ache 3, Heart Expansion and Palpitations. The ache rises from the center of the chest, where love has long been managed, measured, and protected for survival. The heart can no longer remain armored. It must expand beyond defense, beyond self-preservation, beyond the strategies that once kept you safe, but also kept you closed. This ache often manifests as heart palpitations, pressure across the chest, sudden tightness, or disruptions in breath that seem to appear without warning. For many, it can feel frightening, even destabilizing. Yet energetically, this is not collapse, it is expansion. The guarded heart is being forced open by unconditional love, a frequency so vast that the old structures simply cannot contain it. What is happening here is the synchronization of twin flame heart rhythms, two energetic pulses attempting to find coherence, resonance, and eventual merge. As this process begins, fear inevitably surfaces. The ego protests loudly. Vulnerability feels dangerous again, as if opening the heart means risking abandonment, loss, or annihilation of self. Old protective instincts activate, scanning for threat, replaying past wounds, and attempting to retreat back into control. But this ache does not allow retreat. The heart has already received the signal. It knows it must grow or fracture. The pain you feel is not damage. It is the sound of walls dissolving. Long-held abandonment narratives begin to loosen their grip. The belief that love must be earned through self-sacrifice, endurance, or suffering starts to break apart. Patterns of overgiving, self-erasure, and emotional vigilance lose their authority as the heart realizes it no longer needs to bargain for connection. This phase teaches you something entirely new: how to receive, how to allow love to move toward you without bracing, shrinking, or preparing for loss. Breathing shifts from the chest into the soul. Each inhale becomes an act of trust. Each exhale releases a lifetime of guardedness. Your heart is not being asked to feel more. It is being asked to become more. It must expand to hold infinity, to sustain a love that is not conditional, not transactional, and not rooted in survival. Anything smaller would fracture under the weight of this frequency. This ache is the heart remembering its true size and reclaiming its capacity to love without fear. Imagine a woman who has spent most of her life loving with her shoulders tense and her breath held just slightly too high in her chest. She has learned, quietly and unconsciously, to keep one hand on the door of her heart at all times, ready to leave before she is left. One day, without any dramatic event or external trigger, her body begins to change. Her heart starts racing in moments of stillness. A pressure blooms behind her sternum when she thinks of connection, intimacy, or being truly seen. She tells herself she is fine, that nothing is wrong, yet her breath keeps catching, as if her body is asking for permission to soften. In meditation, in silence, or even while doing something ordinary, waves of emotion rise without a clear story attached. This is the moment her heart is learning a new language. The palpitations are not panic, they are rhythm seeking rhythm. The tightness is not danger, it is the final stretching of walls built in childhood and reinforced through loss. As she allows herself to breathe deeper, to stay instead of retreat, she realizes something profound. Love is no longer approaching her as a test or a threat. It is arriving as a presence that does not ask her to disappear. In this moment, her heart does not collapse under vulnerability. It expands. And for the first time, her body understands that receiving love does not require sacrifice, only openness. Section 5. Ache 4. Nervous system overload and sensory awakening. At this stage of transformation, the nervous system enters a state of extreme sensitivity, not as a malfunction, but as a necessary recalibration. What once passed unnoticed now arrives with intensity. The skin tingles without warning. Waves of internal buzzing move through the limbs, the spine, the chest. Sounds feel sharper, textures feel louder, temperatures feel invasive. Ordinary sensory input can suddenly feel overwhelming, as though the body has lost its filter. From a psychological perspective, this can resemble overstimulation or burnout. From a spiritual perspective, it is something far more precise. Your nervous system is expanding its bandwidth. It is no longer responding only to physical stimuli. It is learning to register energetic information directly. Your skin, the body's largest organ, begins functioning as a multi-dimensional interface. It is no longer just a boundary between you and the world. It becomes a receptor, a living antenna capable of reading subtle energetic shifts in the environment. Light, emotion, intention, and presence are now felt physically. This is why the sensations feel foreign and intense. The body is learning a new language. This ache is the result of light integration. Your internal frequency is accelerating faster than the nervous system has ever been asked to process before. Every nerve ending is being taught how to conduct higher levels of energy without collapsing. This process cannot be rushed. It must move through the body, layer by layer, synapse by synapse. As this happens, solitude becomes essential, not as avoidance, but as regulation. External stimulation that once felt neutral can suddenly feel unbearable. Crowds, noise, constant conversation, screens, even touch can overwhelm the system. Your body is asking for quiet so it can complete its rewiring without interference. Silence becomes medicine. Stillness becomes safety. You are also learning to perceive energy physically. This includes emotional atmospheres, unspoken tension, and most powerfully, the energetic presence of your twin. You may feel them before you think of them. A pressure in the chest, a warmth along the spine, a sudden wave of sensation with no external cause. This is not imagination. It is somatic perception, awakening. The body now knows before the mind does. The tears that come during this phase are not emotional weakness. They are neurological release. Crying becomes the body's way of discharging excess input, of preventing overload, of restoring balance. You are processing more information at once than ever before, and the nervous system releases pressure the only way it can, through tears, through shaking, through deep fatigue. Exhaustion is common here, not because you are depleted, but because integration requires enormous internal resources. Every moment, your system is sorting, calibrating, and reorganizing itself to hold more aliveness than it previously could. This is the death of numbness. Old dissociation patterns dissolve, emotional flatness fades. In its place comes a heightened sense of being alive. Colors feel brighter, touch feels deeper, presence feels heavier and more real. You are no longer partially here. You are inhabiting your body fully for the first time. This ache marks the moment when the body stops protecting you from sensation and starts trusting you with it. You are not breaking. Your nervous system is awakening to a wider reality, learning how to hold love, connection, and energetic truth without shutting down. Section 6. Ache 5. Crown pressure and divine downloads. As the transformation deepens, pressure begins to gather at the crown of the head. It can feel dense, pulsing, almost unbearable at times. Migraines may surge without warning. Dizziness appears. Moments of disembodiment follow, where the mind feels detached from the body, as if consciousness is hovering just above physical form. This can be frightening if misunderstood, but this ache is not a collapse. It is an opening. Your crown is not malfunctioning, it is amplifying. This is the antenna through which source intelligence is received, and it is being turned up dramatically. Information arrives not as linear thought, but as compressed knowing. Entire blueprints begin downloading simultaneously. Blueprints for union, for soul mission, for embodiment, for the next stage of who you are becoming. The system is receiving far more than the intellect was designed to handle. The mind cannot process this volume or speed of information. It tries, fails, and rebels. Confusion rises. Mental fatigue sets in. Old thought patterns attempt to regain control, demanding logic, certainty, explanation. This is not weakness. This is the mind reaching the edge of its jurisdiction. Something greater has taken the lead. As these downloads intensify, light begins cascading down the spine. You may feel heat, electricity, or a slow internal wave moving from the crown through the neck, the back, the hips, and into the legs. The body responds instinctively. Posture shifts. The spine straightens, shoulders pull back, the chest opens. Fear stored in collapsed alignment begins to release as the body remembers how to stand as a conduit rather than a container. This is Kundalini activation, not as spectacle, not as spiritual fantasy, but as biological awakening. The nervous system, spine, and energy channels synchronize to allow consciousness to move freely through the body. You are no longer holding energy in isolated centers. The body itself becomes the pathway. During this phase, tears often arrive without emotional narrative. They release confusion, mental grasping, and the need to understand everything intellectually. This is the moment of intellectual surrender. The mind loosens its grip and allows a deeper intelligence to lead. Knowing moves beyond thought here. Truth is no longer something you analyze. It is something you recognize instantly, wordlessly, in the body. Insight lands fully formed. Direction becomes felt rather than reasoned. You stop trying to figure out what is happening and begin allowing it to move through you. This ache marks the transition from seeking truth to receiving it, from thinking your way forward to being guided from within. The crown pressure is not a burden. It is evidence that your system is now capable of holding divine instruction without fragmenting. You are becoming the conduit, and the body is learning how to carry heaven without losing itself on earth. Section 7, Ache 6, Bone-deep fatigue and sacred stillness. At this stage, fatigue does not arrive gently. It moves in with force, settling deep into the bones, the muscles, the marrow itself. Sleep no longer restores the way it once did. You may rest for hours and still wake feeling heavy, slow, emptied of momentum. This exhaustion is not ordinary tiredness, and it is not a sign of failure or weakness. It is the body demanding priority over everything else. On a psychological level, this can feel unsettling. Many are conditioned to associate exhaustion with laziness, depression, or loss of purpose. Spiritually, however, something very precise is occurring. The body is rebuilding itself at the most fundamental level. Cellular structures are reorganizing. Old stress patterns encoded in the nervous system are dissolving. Even genetic expression begins to shift as survival-based programming gives way to coherence and safety. What mystics call rewriting DNA is, in grounded terms, the body releasing ancestral fear responses and installing new regulatory pathways. This level of reconstruction mandates rest, not optional rest, non-negotiable stillness. The system cannot do this work while pushing forward, producing, achieving, or performing. It requires long pauses, silence, surrender to doing far less than the ego is comfortable with. As this ache deepens, productivity often collapses. Motivation fades. Goals that once felt urgent lose their charge. The external world begins to feel distant, almost unreal. This can trigger fear, especially for those who equate worth with output. But this withdrawal is not regression. It is strategic conservation of life force. This phase is spiritual hibernation. Just as the body retreats inward during physical healing, consciousness pulls back to protect itself from burnout. You are being removed from overstimulation so that integration can complete without interruption. Nothing is wrong with you for needing this. Nothing is being lost. The tears that surface here often come from frustration, from resisting the pause, from wanting to move before the body is ready. There can be grief for the version of you who could push endlessly, who survived through effort and endurance. That version is being laid to rest. Healing occurs here quietly, in the dark, in the absence of striving, in moments where nothing seems to be happening at all. Yet, beneath the stillness, profound repair is underway. Systems recalibrate. Energy reserves replenish. Identity loosens its grip. This ache teaches the sacred intelligence of rest. It reminds you that transformation does not always look like expansion. Sometimes it looks like disappearance, like slowing down until the soul can catch up to the body. You are not falling behind. You are being protected, while something ancient and essential completes its work. If you have made it this far, pause with yourself for a moment. This is not casual listening anymore. Something in your body recognizes these words because you are living them. You are not imagining the fatigue, the sensitivity, the pressure, or the stillness. These are markers of a deeper initiation unfolding within you. Before we move forward, allow yourself to reflect honestly. What has your body been asking of you lately? Where have you been resisting? Rest, silence, or surrender? If you feel called, share your experience in the comments. Your story may be the mirror someone else needs to feel less alone. And if words feel heavy right now, simply type this affirmation below as a signal to your nervous system and your soul. I honor my body's wisdom and trust the timing of my transformation. By doing this, you are not just commenting, you are anchoring permission, safety, and trust into your process. Section 8, Ache 7, Joint Pain and Karmic Release. This ache does not arrive suddenly, nor does it remain in one place. It migrates with intention, moving through the hips, the knees, the shoulders, and sometimes the spine, as though the body is following a hidden map written long before this lifetime began. One day the hips ache deeply, the next the knees feel weak or inflamed, and later the shoulders grow heavy and sore without a clear physical cause. This wandering pain is not random, it is precise. It marks the locations where old contracts are stored and where they are now dissolving. From a psychological and energetic perspective, joints are not merely mechanical structures, they are points of transition. They allow movement, choice, flexibility, and direction. When the soul has lived under obligation, suppression, inherited duty, or ancestral expectation, these burdens settle into the joints. They harden into patterns of endurance rather than freedom. Many people carry responsibilities that were never truly theirs, roles assigned by family lineage, cultural expectation, karmic vows, or survival-based identities formed in earlier chapters of the soul's journey. The joints become the archive for this stagnation. As awakening deepens, light begins to enter these stored places, and light does not negotiate with stagnation, it dissolves it. The sensation that follows often feels like inflammation, stiffness, or aching pressure, as if the body itself is protesting the change. But this discomfort is not damage, it is release. Karmic chains that once dictated movement, limitation, and obligation are being broken down at a cellular level. The body feels hot, sore, or exhausted because it is actively freeing itself from agreements that no longer align with the soul's future. This is why the pain often intensifies briefly before it resolves. Old contracts do not dissolve quietly. They resist, they surface, they ask to be acknowledged, and as they do, emotion rises with them. Tears appear unexpectedly, not from sadness, but from recognition. The tears acknowledge what has been carried for too long. They mark the moment when unconscious responsibility is finally returned to its rightful place. What was inherited is released. What was imposed is relinquished. What was endured out of loyalty or fear is no longer required. Psychologically, this stage often coincides with a profound internal shift. The individual begins to feel less obligated to fix, rescue, hold, or carry others. Boundaries strengthen without aggression. Guilt loosens its grip. The nervous system learns that rest is allowed, that ease is safe, and that movement does not have to be earned through suffering. The body mirrors this realization by loosening its grip as well. Joints soften, range of motion improves, movement becomes less effortful and more intuitive. Energetically, this ache signals the end of karmic repetition. The body is no longer bracing for the past. It is preparing for a future unencumbered by ancestral weight. With each release, the soul regains access to choice rather than compulsion. The hips no longer carry the fear of instability. The knees no longer bend under obligation. The shoulders no longer bear the weight of everyone else's survival. Instead, they begin to support movement that is self-directed, aligned, and free. As this process completes, a noticeable lightness emerges. Walking feels easier. Posture changes subtly. The body feels more cooperative, less resistant. This is not simply physical relief. It is the embodiment of liberation. The future opens because the past has finally been set down. What once restricted movement has been transmuted into wisdom. What once caused pain has become space. This ache is not a setback. It is a closing chapter, a declaration that the soul no longer consents to carry what does not belong to it. Through the joints, the body announces its readiness to move forward lighter, clearer, and no longer bound by karmic weight. Section 9, Ache 8. Eyes and the pain of true sight. This ache enters through the eyes, quietly at first, then insistently. The eyes feel strained, sore, sensitive to light. Brightness overwhelms. Screens exhaust you. Even daylight can feel sharp, invasive, almost too honest. This is not weakness in vision. It is expansion. Your perceptual field is widening faster than the nervous system is accustomed to holding. Psychologically and energetically, the eyes are not only organs of sight, they are instruments of truth. They are the gateway through which consciousness interprets reality. When awakening reaches this stage, the eyes begin to see beyond surface narrative and conditioned illusion. What once appeared neutral now reveals hidden layers. What once felt confusing becomes unmistakably clear. You begin perceiving energy as much as form auras around people, emotional residues in spaces, symbolic patterns, subtle codes embedded in interactions. Truth no longer whispers. It announces itself visually, energetically, unmistakably. This expansion can feel painful because illusion has weight. Seeing through it requires the nervous system to release comfort, denial, and familiar stories. The ache in the eyes reflects the strain of no longer being able to look away. You cannot unsee what you now recognize. Psychological defenses dissolve, and with them the safety of ignorance. The eyes ache because they are adjusting to clarity without filters. At the same time, tension often emerges in the jaw, the cheeks, the temples. This is not coincidental. The jaw is the keeper of suppressed speech. It holds the words never spoken, the anger swallowed to maintain peace, the truth silenced for survival, belonging, or love. As vision sharpens, silence becomes unbearable. The body understands that clear sight requires clear expression. The jaw begins to release, muscles soften, old pressure dissolves. Anger that was never allowed to exist is finally acknowledged and discharged without destruction. This release recalibrates the face itself. The face is not merely appearance. It is the mirror of the soul's alignment. As suppressed emotion clears and perception purifies, subtle changes occur. The eyes appear brighter, deeper, more present. Facial tension eases. Expressions become authentic rather than guarded. The soul begins to look through the body without obstruction. Tears often accompany this phase, not because of sadness, but because perception is being cleansed. Tears wash the lens through which reality is viewed. They clear residual distortion, old projections, inherited beliefs, emotional overlays that once clouded judgment. With each tear, the gaze becomes more precise, more compassionate, more penetrating. You are no longer reacting to what you see, you are recognizing it. Energetically, this transformation carries a magnetic quality. Clear sight emits coherence. When you see truth without distortion, your gaze holds a frequency that others feel immediately. It is calm. It is steady. It does not chase or demand. It simply knows. This is why, at this stage, the eyes become guiding beacons. Without effort, without words, your presence communicates direction. For the twin flame connection, this ache marks a profound shift. You no longer seek your twin through longing or imagination. You see them energetically, clearly, beyond fantasy and fear. And because perception has stabilized within truth, your gaze becomes an invitation rather than a pursuit. It signals safety, recognition, and home. This ache is the cost of true sight, and its gift is unmistakable clarity. The illusion falls away. The soul looks out through the eyes unobstructed, and what it sees now guides not only you, but the one who is magnetized by your clarity back toward union. Section 10, Ache 9, Digestive Purge and Emotional Clearing. This ache begins deep in the gut, in the core where emotion and survival have always intertwined. The stomach tightens, digestion becomes unpredictable, and the body reacts strongly to foods it once tolerated without question. Bloating, nausea, cramping, sudden sensitivities, or abrupt eliminations appear, not as illness, but as intelligence. The gut is releasing what it has been storing for years, sometimes lifetimes. Grief that was never processed, fear that was swallowed to stay functional, emotional pain that had no language at the time it was experienced, all of it has lived here. Now it is leaving, physically. From a psychological perspective, the digestive system is the seat of emotional assimilation. It decides what can be integrated and what must be expelled. When the soul reaches a stage of self-honesty that no longer permits internal compromise, the body follows. Fear does not dissolve abstractly. It exits somatically. The body purges what the psyche no longer consents to carry. What feels uncomfortable is actually relief in motion. As this clearing accelerates, food preferences shift dramatically. Heavy, processed, or energetically dense foods become intolerable. Sugar overwhelms. Grease repels. Even familiar meals suddenly feel wrong. The body begins demanding nourishment that carries coherence, fresh, simple, high vibrational sources that do not burden the system. This is not discipline or trend. It is resonance. Your body is calibrating to a frequency that cannot be supported by misaligned inputs. With this recalibration comes an unmistakable form of discernment. The digestive system becomes an intuitive instrument. Your body reacts immediately to what is not aligned. Food, environments, conversations, even people. Discomfort arises not to punish, but to inform. The gut says no long before the mind tries to rationalize yes. Intuition sharpens because the channel is clearing. When emotional residue leaves the body, perception becomes clean and direct. This stage is humbling because it removes control. You cannot override the body here. You must listen. You must slow down. You must respect the signals instead of suppressing them. The discomfort teaches surrender, not weakness. It teaches trust in the intelligence that lives beneath conscious thought. The gut does not negotiate with denial. It enforces truth through sensation. Emotionally, this purge often coincides with a quiet strengthening of self-respect. As the body refuses what harms it, the psyche follows. Boundaries solidify naturally. You stop consuming what depletes you, whether physical or emotional. The nervous system learns safety through alignment rather than endurance. This is how self-respect anchors not through affirmation, but through embodiment. When the purge settles, the system feels lighter, clearer, more responsive. Hunger becomes intuitive. Satisfaction arrives without excess. Emotional reactions soften because there is less residue to trigger them. The channel between instinct and awareness opens fully. You are no longer carrying what never belonged inside you. This ache is not punishment. It is purification with intelligence. The gut clears the past so the future can be received cleanly. And in that clarity, alignment becomes the default, not the effort. Before we move into the next ache, pause here for a moment. Take a breath and gently scan your body, especially your gut, your emotions, and your recent shifts in appetite, boundaries, and intuition. Ask yourself what you have been releasing lately, and what your body has quietly refused to carry any longer. These purges are not random, they are deeply personal signals of alignment returning. If this section resonated with you, reflect on what has been clearing in your life and how it has changed the way you honor yourself. I invite you to leave a comment sharing your experience, your insight, or even just your awareness. And if words feel unnecessary right now, simply type this sentence in the comments. I choose alignment and self-respect. Section 11, Ache 10, Sleep Disruption and Etheric Training. Sleep no longer follows the old human rhythm. It fragments, breaks apart, and reforms in unfamiliar patterns. You fall asleep only to awaken suddenly, often at sacred hours when the veil between worlds is thinnest. These awakenings are not random, and they are not insomnia in the conventional sense. They arrive with surges of energy moving through the spine, the chest, the crown, as if your body has been summoned rather than disturbed. Something within you is being activated, called to attention while the world sleeps. During these interrupted nights, your soul is not resting, it is working. While the physical body lies still, consciousness travels beyond the limits of time and space. You enter etheric classrooms, councils, and meeting places that exist outside the three-dimensional field. Agreements are reviewed, instructions are received, energetic calibrations are performed. You may not remember every detail when you wake, but your nervous system does, your cells do. This is why you often wake feeling altered, heavier and lighter at once, as though you have returned from somewhere far away. Dreams intensify during this phase, becoming vivid, symbolic, and emotionally charged. Some dreams feel more real than waking life. Others dissolve the boundary between memory, future, and parallel experience. You may question what truly happened and what was imagined, because reality itself begins to blur. This is not confusion, it is expansion. Your mind is learning to hold multiple layers of perception without collapsing back into linear logic. This stage is not meant to comfort you, it is meant to train you. Sleep disruption builds endurance at the soul level. It strengthens your ability to function without reliance on predictable physical cycles. You are being prepared for mission readiness, for embodiment that does not depend on perfect conditions or constant rest. The body learns to receive energy directly rather than exclusively through sleep, food, or external regulation. This is a dismantling of old survival programming. The tears that arrive during this ache come from deep exhaustion, but not only physical fatigue. They come from the release of dependency on the three-dimensional world as the sole source of safety, nourishment, and restoration. Something ancient within you remembers how to operate beyond density, beyond time, beyond sleep, as you once knew it. Your system is learning to trust that remembrance. You are not breaking down. You are being retrained. The night is no longer an escape from consciousness. It has become a workspace, a gateway, a proving ground. And as difficult as this phase feels, it marks a profound shift. Your soul is no longer waiting for the body to catch up. It is teaching the body how to follow. Section 12, Ache 11, Sacred Rage and Final Grief. The final purge does not arrive quietly. It erupts through the body as waves of grief and sudden, uncontainable rage. This emotion may feel overwhelming, even shocking, because it does not originate from your personal story alone. What moves through you now is collective. It is the stored sorrow of generations, the unexpressed anger of voices that were never allowed to speak, the grief of lives lived under suppression, limitation, and forced silence. Your body becomes the place where this long-held weight finally finds release. In this phase, oppression leaves the system, not as an idea but as a visceral experience. The throat tightens, the chest burns, the jaw clenches, and the nervous system floods with energy as silence finally breaks. You may feel the urge to cry without knowing why, to shout without a target, to tremble without fear. This is not emotional instability, this is liberation. The body is responding to truth after lifetimes of containment. shaking becomes unavoidable. Muscles contract and release, breath deepens or stutters, and the entire physical form moves as if guided by an inner intelligence. This shaking is intentional. It is the body shedding outdated paradigms that were once necessary for survival, but are no longer compatible with the frequency you are entering. Control dissolves. Composure dissolves. What remains is raw, honest energy moving out of the tissues where it has been stored for far too long. This ache carries sacred fire, not destructive rage, but purifying rage. It burns through false obedience, inherited guilt, and internalized powerlessness. It clears the imprint of being told to endure quietly, to stay small, to accept injustice as fate. The fire does not harm you, it restores you. It returns rightful authority to the body and sovereignty to the soul. What makes this stage so intense is that you are not clearing only for yourself. You are acting as a conduit. Your nervous system, your breath, your tears become instruments through which collective grief finally exits the human field. This is why the emotion feels larger than your life. You are releasing what others could not survive expressing. You are completing a cycle that has waited generations to close. The tears at this stage are different from all others. They are not sharp with pain or heavy with longing. They are emptying tears. They drain the vessel completely, leaving no residue behind. When the crying ends, there is often an unfamiliar stillness. Not numbness, but clarity. The body feels lighter, quieter, unburdened. The war inside has ended. This is the final grief before embodiment. Nothing remains to be carried forward. The fire has done its work. What stands now is a body cleared of ancestral weight, a nervous system no longer bound by silence, and a soul fully prepared to inhabit itself without apology. Your body is not breaking down. It is breaking open. What you are experiencing is not a failure of strength, faith, or endurance. It is the body finally being invited into the sacred conversation. Every ache you feel is a recalibration. Every tear that falls is not weakness, but devotion. This is the language of embodiment, the moment spirit stops hovering above life and chooses to live fully inside it. Union was never meant to be gentle. It was meant to be true. A power this vast cannot land in a vessel that is half present, half protected, or still armored by old survival patterns. That is why your body is being prepared so carefully. You are not being punished by sensation, you are being initiated. You are becoming strong enough, open enough, and grounded enough to hold what is coming without fracturing. You are not waiting for an altar. You are the altar. You are the chalice that can finally contain love without spilling it through fear. You are the gate through which heaven enters matter. And now, more than ever, the energies of late 2025 are insisting on embodiment. Saturn is no longer allowing spirituality to remain abstract. It is asking spirit to take responsibility for form, for discipline, for presence. What you feel in your body is the structure being built so love can stay. The winter solstice does not only mark the return of light in the sky, it marks the return of light within the flesh. The Capricorn new moon is not about wishing, it is about anchoring. Intention is no longer enough. The body must agree, and yours is responding precisely on time. Do not fear the discomfort. Pain here is not a warning, it is a signal of arrival. Union does not descend upon you from the outside. It does not rescue you. It does not complete you. Union happens within you first, when every layer of your being finally consents to the same truth. When the body, the heart, and the soul stop arguing, love becomes inevitable. Honor what is happening. Trust the tears that come without explanation. They are washing the vessel clean. You are learning how to hold heaven inside human skin, and that is no small task. If this message touched something deep within you, I invite you to pause and leave a comment below with this affirmation. I trust my body as the altar of love. Let your words anchor the truth you are living. Please like this video, share it with someone who may be walking this path silently, and stay with us by watching the video below. Each interaction helps this message reach the souls who need it most and reminds them they are not alone. Thank you, my beautiful souls, for walking this sacred initiation with me. Your presence matters. Your embodiment matters. Until next time. Trust your body. Trust your tears. Trust the love that is arriving from within.